Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Public Sector I Heart You podcast. I'm Rebecca Davis, Chief Exec at West Midlands Employers, and I've got the pleasure today of being joined by Stephen Gabriel, Chief Executive at Tamworth Borough Council. Today we're going to be talking about a little bit about local government, a little bit about Stephen's leadership journey, and a little bit about careers in local government. So thank you for tuning in and we'll get started. So Stephen, tell me a little bit about your career journey so far. What's brought you to Chief Exec at Tamworth Borough Council?
Well, I started in local government in 1989. I started in Birmingham City Council as an administrative assistant in the career service. And then 34 years later, I became a chief executive at Tamworth Borough Council.
Fabulous. So, I mean, you're a great sort of advocate then for the sector, having worked your way right up through different services, different departments. What's been, I suppose, the standout moment for you where you thought, actually, you know, I've had that support, that ability to sort of really say, this is where I'm going to progress in my career?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, I think I kind of stumbled into it as well, because actually doing different roles and progressing within local government and then getting different opportunities, it kind of became the next kind of progression. So I remember having an appraisal conversation with one of my previous directors saying, yeah, I think I'd like to be a director in a local authority, and I think that then started the journey for me to go out and start having a look for those roles.
Yeah, and I think for anyone who's listening, who's thinking about coming into the sector, that ability to move into different roles, different councils, it's a squiggly career, isn't it? It's not just a linear path. So what advice would you give someone if they don't quite know what they want to do yet?
I mean, I think local government is great for people trying different things. I mean, you know, some local authorities have over 400 different businesses and different things that they do. So actually, you know, you can go and you can try different roles, work with different teams. And, you know, throughout my career, I've been involved in delivering housing services, town centre regeneration programmes, community development, community engagement. You'll remember the national strategy for neighbourhood renewal, so all that stuff around neighbourhood management. So I've actually, there's been a whole range of things that I've been able to see. But I think for me, one of the key things is being able to work, or I enjoyed local authority the most when I was working frontline, actually, you know, in neighbourhood offices within Birmingham City Council.
Yeah, and I think that is what a lot of senior leaders in the sector say, is that, you know, they really enjoyed being on the front line and being able to feel and connect the difference that they make, which you become a little bit more removed from when you move up an organisation. So how do you keep connected with that sort of feeling of making a direct difference?
I mean, I think you know, working in local government for so many years and working on the front line, it kind of shapes you anyway, because actually those experiences will never go away from you, and those values that you develop will never go away. So I think for me, working and kind of progressing from frontline service delivery has been really beneficial to me.
Yeah.
You know, so I've not just got here and, you know, went to uni and come in as a chief exec on a graduate programme. I actually worked my way through.
Yeah, it's those lived experiences, isn't it, which sort of define who you are and how you approach things.
Yeah.
Is there one particular, I suppose, period of your career where you think actually that really defined the kind of leader I am and what you were about in how you approach things?
I mean, I can remember a time when I was working at Sandwell Council, actually, and we were doing some work on modern slavery, and I actually was leading that work for the council. But actually, in doing that, you know, having to work with a wide range of stakeholders, you know, sell the story to senior officers. Luckily, the chief executive at the time was very supportive of the work, but actually getting other senior officers engaged in that. So I think there's a leadership about managing your managers and managing seniors as well. I read an article many years ago about, you know, how to manage your manager, and I think that's really important, understanding what drives your leaders to enable you to kind of be able to get some of the opportunities that are out there in the world that we work in.
Yeah, absolutely. And on your sort of journey through local government, you know, you've probably had lots of sort of important figures who've perhaps, you know, given you that confidence, directly or indirectly inspired you. Who's been sort of someone you've really looked up to in the sector where you thought, you know what, that was someone who, you know, really inspired me at a point in my career?
Yeah, I think I mean, if I started, I'll just be listing people's names
Yeah.
off, and I think there are a couple of people who have been really special to me within my career, and they know who they are. And actually, it's about those people taking time out to talk to me, but also seeing how they interact with other people,
Yeah.
observing their leadership style, how open, transparent they are, how they are when they need to make tough decisions. Because in the roles that we're in now, sometimes you have to make tough decisions that probably go against your own value
Yeah.
systems as well, but it's right for the organisation. So I think just understanding and observing, I've seen good and bad leaders within the sector, and what
Yeah.
I've tried to do is to kind of take the good and learn from the not so good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think sometimes it's people's confidence as well, isn't it? To sort of take that step up is really important. So if anyone was listening who was thinking, what, I'm thinking of applying for a senior role, a chief exec role, what would you sort of say to them about, how they should approach that? What would be your advice having...
So I mean, if you want to, I would say go for it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I've loved all of my jobs that I've had within local government. Um, Actually, the chief exec role is fantastic for me. I like the autonomy and being able to do things and try things. I think the chief executive role allows you to do that. It's very busy, it's very lonely,
Yeah.
and it's really important that you build your network. And I think one of the things for me is that I think I've got a really strong network of people, and not just in kind of my areas, but in
Yeah.
other areas or where I may need support.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's the challenge, isn't it? A lot of people in the sector see actually it's a
Yeah.
tough job, long hours, a lot of political involvement, politics with a soft P and a capital P in terms of our organisations. So, how do you sort of get that balance really of work, life, and where do you draw some of those boundaries?
So I think you need to be accessible, and I think that's really important. And I've had instances where I've had to be taking calls on the weekend, late at nights, but that's the nature of the role. If you've got something that's urgent to do, I mean, I think keeping yourself healthy and fit. I enjoy music. I enjoy. I've got a little studio at home, so I'll get in there and do a little bit of mixing every now
Ooh,
and
I'm
again.
feeling
So.
like there could be a different spin-off podcast going
Oh,
on.
I don't know about that. I'm not as good as some of the other guys out there, but it's just for my own sort
Yeah.
of little bit of amusement. Do a little bit of golf every now and again, not as much as I'd like, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it is about keeping that balance, isn't it? And that focus on well-being often, isn't always spoken about across top teams and at senior levels in the organisation.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I worked in Malvern, and we were really focused on well-being there, and I'd done a couple of walking meetings up the Malvern Hills, and that was great. I mean, I didn't get very high, but at least we were out there.
Yeah.
Didn't get to the summit, should I say, but at least we were out there. But I think it's really important to also to bring different styles of how you engage in the workplace as well. So
Yeah.
things like walking meetings, I've done that sort of stuff, and it does help.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that's something that really matters to young people as well coming into the sector. We're certainly recognising a new generation. They want to work differently. Life is a big factor outside of work and having that balance. Whereas I think, 20, 30 years ago, it was perhaps an expectation that everything's your career in that early years. You sort of, always working. But I think our younger generation have got a much different view. How do organisations need to change to be ready for the new generation of young people coming into our workplace?
So I think COVID was a real pivotal point in changing how we worked. I mean, I think previously local government, it was a lot about presenteeism and being in the office and being seen. I think now it's more about being clear about what outcomes are required and actually giving people the ability to deliver on those, but having a clear kind of performance framework that you expect people to deliver on. So attracting young people. I mean, I've got a 19-year-old son now who's doing an apprenticeship, and where I was getting up every day going out to it, it's a bit different for him now. So I think we do need to be flexible to engage younger people. And when I look at my workforce profile, 16 to 25s, we need to do some work there to be attracting people. And I started in local government just before when I was 17.
Yeah.
So been here a long time now. But I saw it as the security of working in local government, and a lot of people didn't see that. And now people change their jobs very regularly. So,
Yeah.
my view would be, local government, if you're passionate about making a difference in people, improving people's lives, there's a real opportunity for you to do that within local
Absolutely.
government.
And do you think we appeal, in terms of our technology, our innovation to a younger generation? Do you think we've still got some work to do on that, and selling ourselves as actually being really up for that as a sector?
Yeah, I think we do need to do more to attract younger people. Younger people now are using things like AI. They use technology different to when I started in local government. It was a big fat screen with a big chunky keyboard, and they were just bringing those computers in to the world of work. Now it's different. You can do everything from your phone. So I think there's ways in which we should be looking at engaging young people. I mean, social media as well. I mean, I think young people can help us engage with communities better through the use of social media.
Absolutely. And as much as there's huge opportunities, and it feels like the world's at that tipping point, isn't it, with technology, particularly AI. But as chief executive of an organisation, you've got the weight of, when things go wrong, and making sure that there's governance, which, can often be seen as a bit of a breaker or slowing down new technology. How do you balance that, with the sort of managing the risks that might be present in using some tech versus that desire to innovate?
I mean, I think it's just about that wider due diligence piece, isn't it? And just being clear around what those risks are, and then how you mitigate around some of those risks. So, there are certain platforms where we've got millions of people on, but actually there's talk around those platforms might not be that safe. So I think it's just about looking at the due diligence piece, and making sure and talking to younger people as well, and seeing how they can influence what we do within local government.
No, absolutely. I mean, it feels as though we're at a real sort of turning point in local government. There's a lot of change, new government this year. What is your hope for the sector? Where do you think actually these are the things I'd like to see the sector change over the next 3 or 4 years?
I mean, I think there's always, I mean, the main issue has been around kind of finance. That's one of the main challenges, isn't it, for the sector at the moment. I think we're in a period now where the government are talking about longer term settlements. So I think that's positive. I think attracting people into the sector for me is gonna be valuably important, because it's about sustainability. And when I look at my workforce, a much more older workforce, and we're going to lose a lot of skills, a lot of knowledge. So actually, how are we building up that cohort of people coming behind them?
Yeah, no, absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us today, Stephen. I really appreciate it, and for your sort of views and sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you again.
Thank you.